Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you could please start taking your seats, we will be able to get this lunch event underway. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Hi everybody, great to see such a strong turnout and welcome to Barry Tudor. I always love that first part, standing up here and waiting for everyone to quieten down, because it just feels like so many good conversations going on, people catching up, and just feels like the absolute engine room of our business when you're looking out over that. And it's great to see, because it always reminds us how strong and thriving our industry is in the face of an increasing burden of rot that we get thrown at us. I'm just going to give you a little intro. Steve Galilee is your chair for today, and we're strengthening our partnership with the New South Wales Minerals Council, and Steve, he's basically the best alternative chairman in the price bracket. So we've very happy to have him. He's also much more respectable than I am. He owns more than 2 tyres, which is really nice. So we can get something different all the way through the year. He'll keep me out of trouble because I've often wondered how I've never ended up in too much trouble up here with the things I say. So the more time Steve's up here, the less opportunity I have to.
Thank you very much, George.
Anyway, Steve's also a very dear mate of mine, and so the energy is definitely shifting. The New South Wales, come on, you can do this. New South Wales Minerals Council is helping to promote these events and even promoting projects that are going ahead in Queensland. Yeah. So Steve will be doing the lunches only, and that's mostly because his wife Amber won't allow him to be in the city unattended after 5:30 p.m. And that's about right, isn't it, Steve? Yeah. That's how you met? Oh, too much information. But anyway, and in the evening we're going to be. You had enjoyed Lucy McLean last time, so Lucy will be helping with the Leading Edge series in the evening. And for anyone, and also Will Jeffries will also be chairing. So we'll have a different demographic mix, put it that way. We have, I think we've got a rare earth lineup next time. So there'll be 3 companies. Will, you might just announce those when we finish. So the Leading Edge event in the evening will be a rare earth showcase. And other little bits of information of importance. Any of you who have ever been to a Melbourne mining club, and geez, that's a different event. They're always so delightfully crusty down there and proper and Melbourne style compared to all you rabble. They still have to plant Dorothy Dix questions in the audience all these years later, 24 years later or something, because it's just so that they make sure they get questions. In Sydney, it's really hard to sort of shut everyone up. So a very different dynamic. I was down in Canberra 4 or 5 days ago, and pretty desperate down there. We were down there because everyone's into critical minerals and they're trying to give grants to industry, and we were asked to come down and present on that subject. And we came to question time just because, you know, you're in Canberra, you should go to question time. And it was really demoralising we had the Shadow Minister for Energy and Climate, who's the great Ted O'Brien, who he might even get up here for a little cameo sometime. Great man. He's really working the nuclear case for the opposition. And this really blew me away. He got up and he asked a very pointed question about energy security and with the loaded background to that being that the opposition is now front foot promoting nuclear energy in Australia. How long have we been mining it? Like since Rum Jungle? You know, was it that 1950s or something? You know, we've been mining uranium that long, and which apparently is moral, but not reacting. Anyway, so a very pointed question from Ted O'Brien to the Prime Minister, and he said, well, those opposite, I understand you're very keen on energy security, and if you are keen on nuclear energy, then you should stop having meltdowns. Ha, 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 ha. And all of his bench were guffawing at the sheer wit of their leader. And that is the state of Parliament in Australia today. And I must say I really felt disgusted by it. I just thought, really? Is that the best you can do? You know, it's like, what else do you do? Whip each other with towels in the corridor? It was very poor.
They were only half guffawing.
Half guffawing.
Which means he was a half.
Oh, steady. Anyway, look, I'm now going to ask Steve to come up. Steve, would you like me to thank the sponsors, or you want to do that?
Take it out of my notes and you can do it.
No, it's on to you. Please welcome the fabulous new Chairman, Steve Galilee.
It's the nicest thing anybody has said about me in the last 30 seconds. Well, welcome everybody, and what a great introduction from Julian. It's a very hard act to follow, which is why he wanted to go first. They're welcome to the latest instalment of the Sydney Mining Club's Lunchtime event series, and it's great to see another full house, another packed house here today. Before we do anything else, I would like to thank our sponsors. You can see their banners up here, up front. They're good enough to support this club. Please be good enough to thank them, and can we give our sponsors a round of applause, please? So we've got a great story here today, featuring a rare and endangered species. And no, I'm not talking about a lizard, a frog, a finch, or a turtle. Today's rare specimen is an actual government approval for a new Greenfield open-cut coal mine. Specifically, Pembroke Resources' Olive Downs project in the Ballroom Basin in Queensland. Here in New South Wales, Greenfield's open-cut coal mining approvals were once much more prevalent in our local habitat, but their numbers have since declined to the point of extinction. Since 2017, there have been 13 coal projects approved in New South Wales, which is good, but they've basically been for extensions and modifications of existing operations. 2 new Greenfield underground mines have been approved, and I think Wayne Seabrook, is Wayne here today? Wayne Seabrook, if he's here, congratulations, because there he is up in the corner there, because he managed to catch one of them. But no open-cut Greenfield's coal mining approvals. In fact, 2 proposed new open-cut coal mines have been refused since 2017. So we're still seeing brownfields approvals here in New South Wales, but the extremely rare Greenfields breed is much, much harder to find here or anywhere else around the world for that matter. After many years of patient observation, hard work and dedication, today's special guest has not just seen one, he's actually captured one alive. And on that note, I'll add my welcome to Pembroke Resources Chairman and CEO, Barry Tudor. Congratulations on your achievement, Barry, and we're very much looking forward to hearing from you shortly. One thing that's not rare or unusual these days, sadly, are spurious legal challenges lodged by activists seeking to obstruct and delay mining approvals regardless of commodity type. So it was great recently to see the Land and Environment Court here in New South Wales dismiss an application for judicial review proceedings in relation to the Bowden's Silver project. The legal activists were seeking to challenge the New South Wales Government's consent for the project, which was approved in April last year. Yes, over a year ago, and the project is still waiting for its EPBC approval from the Commonwealth. Let's hope that Commonwealth approval is imminent, so New South Wales can get a brand new silver mine into operation sometime soon. Because there certainly continues to be plenty of interest in looking for more of the mines of the future here and across the country. The AEST exploration spending data recently released once again showed a very strong result for exploration spending right across the country, including a record of nearly $100 million spent in the last quarter of the last year here in New South Wales. Spending across all commodities in New South Wales was strong, with gold, coal and base metals all close to all-time highs. So there's still plenty of interest in developing those mines of the future, and it's a reminder of the importance of an efficient titles, assessment and planning process to ensure the discoveries of today can become the mines of tomorrow. Those expenditure levels are certainly an encouraging sign, and hopefully they point to a very strong future for this sector here in New South Wales and across the country. But before I don't need to say that, I've already thanked the sponsors, but I'll thank them again. Before I introduce our guest speaker, can we thank the sponsors again? Here we go. Thank you. But now to our guest speaker, Barry Tudor. He's the founder, chairman and CEO of Pembroke Resources. A coal industry leader for 2 decades, Barry has held senior executive positions in several listed and international resources companies. He successfully built several steelmaking coal enterprises and has led operations through all stages of the commodity cycle. In 2014, Barry founded Pembroke Resources with a vision to create a significant new steelmaking coal enterprise, and a decade later, the vision is now becoming a reality. It's not me. Barry started his career at KPMG, followed by a variety of senior regional and international roles in finance, management and marketing. He holds a Bachelor of Economics degree from Macquarie University and a Master of Business Administration degree from the Macquarie Graduate School of Management. He's a fellow Chartered Accountant and a member of the Institute of Company Directors in Australia. Will you please join me in welcoming Barry to the stage? Thank you.
Located in the central Bowen Basin of Queensland, among the best steelmaking coal mines in the world, the Olive Downs complex is now in production. This world-class project boasts over 500 million tonnes of open-cut reserves, a mine life of over 75 years, and the capacity to produce up to 20 million tonnes of run-of-mine hard coking coal annually. When fully developed, Olive Downs will be one of the largest steelmaking coal mines in the world. The Olive Downs complex will provide high-quality, low-emission and sustainable production from a new mine developed to meet and exceed today's rigorous standards. More than $1 billion has been invested in the acquisition and development of the Olive Downs complex. Key construction components include a 19-kilometre electrified rail loop connecting the operation to Dalrymple Bay, a 44-kilometre power line connecting the Broadleigh substation, an 800-tonne per hour 2-stage processing plant, advanced communications to support the autonomous haulage and drilling system, rail and road bridges, and a 24-kilometre water pipeline. Completion of the final components of construction is due early in 2024. Olive Downs is also leading the way in automation and autonomy in mining, with its mining services partner, TEAS, combining leading-edge insight to unlock the benefits of autonomous mining. The first steelmaking coal mine to run extensive autonomous haulage and drilling systems in the same operation, the initial Olive Downs complex fleet includes 21 Caterpillar autonomous haul trucks and 3 Caterpillar autonomous drills. Autonomy enables sustainable operations through enhanced safety, increased work hours and productivity, and improved efficiency, harnessing the power of people and technology to drive sustainable change. Beyond production, Olive Downs sets new standards in environmental conservation and embedded ESG practices. It is the first mine to establish a dedicated koala and greater glider clinic to research, preserve, and protect these endangered species in their natural habitat. Olive Downs' unique approach to wildlife protection during clearing operations also sets it apart. Our 3-stage protocol ensures minimal disruption to wildlife, showcasing our commitment to sustainability. The Olive Downs complex goes beyond traditional mining. It is the first mine to implement an integrated mining concept on its 41,000-hectare campus, which encompasses designated conservation areas, a wildlife clinic, solar farms, an Indigenous cultural centre, pastoral operations, and an eco-village, creating a holistic approach to resource mining. Pembroke plans to commence the 2nd stage of expansion as soon as possible, lifting production to 12 million tonnes per annum. As investors and governments navigate uncertainties around ESG and policy, it's possible that Olive Downs may be the last of the large-scale Greenfield steelmaking mines, representing a future challenge for the steelmaking industry. Over upcoming decades, during the move to new steel manufacturing processes, the Olive Downs complex will proudly provide high-grade, consistent quality steelmaking coal to the steel industry to aid in the transition phase, while at the same time providing innovative and sustainable ESG programs that only a newly created mine can deliver. The Olive Downs complex is more than a mine. It's a symbol of progress, sustainability, and the determination to set new industry standards for mining in 2023 and beyond.
Well, thank you. I guess that video you just saw sets the scene. It's pretty much represents Pembroke and what we seek to achieve and what we have achieved to date. So really, well, it's actually a great honour to be able to talk to Sydney Mining Club again. I love to tell the story about the Olive Downs complex. You know, for me and some of my co-founders, it is truly a passion project for us. It's not like a job. It's something that we live and breathe. And you can probably just talk to our families to know that they probably get bored witless by it. But it's a very important project. And I guess in context, 10 years ago, it's almost 10 years to the day that I started Pembroke, the biggest question we had is, would we be able to find a very good Greenfield prospect in the Bowen Basin to develop? Because that was the biggest hurdle. Majors don't normally get rid of Greenfield projects. And I'll tell you a little bit of the story about how we got that. But the point I want to make is, once you've got a project like Olive Downs, you don't want to mess it up. So everything we've done with a view to maximising the value out of this asset. Just a little bit of a background on Pembroke. As I said, started 10 years ago. We have two mines. We have a mine up in Indonesia, in central Kalimantan, up the Burrito River. Very different sort of mine. It only does about 1 million tonnes. It'll probably go to 1.5 to 1.7 million tonnes. But a lot of the same criteria apply to that mine that applies to Olive Downs. When we weren't scared by Greenfield. We weren't scared by permitting risk. What we didn't want to start developing mines that were somehow what I would call not economic. That is, you needed to build 300 kilometres of rail, or you didn't know the geology or coal quality, or there was some potentially fatal flaw. So both in Indonesia and Australia, we took on these projects when they were purely exploration leases. We took them through the permitting stage. We spent money on them, and developed them into production. So Indonesia's been running for about 3 years. It's steelmaking coal. You'll see I call it steelmaking coal. Everyone would know why. It's still very, very misunderstood, the difference between thermal and steelmaking coal. We deliberately took the view that this is as pure a steelmaking coal as you can get, very little byproduct. It's a different argument to energy coal. Nothing wrong with energy coal, but ours is a different argument. There is no substitute for carbon-based steelmaking, and in my view, there won't be for decades to come at scale. So it's called steelmaking coal. That's what we focus on. We'd identified Olive Downs way back in 2010. There was going to be a merger between a company that I was CEO of at the time called Gloucester Coal and MacArthur Coal. That merger was scuttled by Peabody coming in and buying MacArthur at the last minute. But we'd had a good chance to look through the assets, and Ken Talbot had assembled a very nice pipeline of assets in MacArthur Coal. And in our view, Olive Downs was one of the prime candidates. And when we formed Pembroke, I guess we did things a little bit differently. We got the money first. So before I even had an asset, I went around and found the money through our backer, Denham Capital. They backed me to the tune of $200 million US. They stuck by us. To me, it's a bit of a business, a bit of a lesson in business, which I think any good business should be pretty simple, the fundamentals. But the fundamental of this business is, I saw a lot of people during various stages of trying to acquire assets where they'd do a deal, then they'd say to the seller, well, we're going to go and get finance. Let's go and find it, or let's go and find a partner. For us, I tell people I started dating Denham in 2012. I got married in 2014 and we didn't have our first kid till 2016. So the fact is, when Peabody eventually were ready to sell this asset, we didn't have to go back to a funder or find a partner. We basically, again, I opened a briefcase with $100 million and said, we're ready to go. Are you ready? Now, I think the coking coal price was $76 a tonne at that time, and I think it rapidly went up only about 3 months later. I can't speak for the seller, but I don't think, I think that timing was just so, but that's only because we had the backing and the knowledge and the faith in the team to be able to do a quick deal. I'm sure it applies if you're going to go buy a car at the dealer. Take the cash to buy a car at the dealer, you'll get a better deal than if you have to go back and ask your wife and ask the bank. Same principle. So that's the history of Olive Downs, the acquisition, 2016. A little bit of a background in the actual asset itself. This is where it sits amongst the Bowen Basin. I think it's the best steelmaking coal basin in the world. I wish the royalties hadn't changed because that's shaken confidence in investment. There's no doubt about it. I used to say to my backers that, you know, Indonesia, that's the one to worry. They can change the rules, and then Australia went and did probably worse than anything Indonesia's done with this coal royalty. But if you want to be in a basin, in my opinion, you want to be in the Bowen Basin. So when the last tonne of coking coal goes out to the steel mills, whenever that happens to be, in decades to come, it'll come out of this basin. And it's important for Australia. In fact, I think that really, as Australians, we should be very proud of the steel-making basin. It's the engine room of the world, for goodness sake. It makes steel. I mean, it is the Pilbara and the Bowen Basin that together kept Australia afloat. So we're very proud to be in the basin. That's where it sits. It's Wrangell's coal measures, but it's in amongst those. So you could see it's in good proximity. That's to scale. So there's two domains here. There's Olive Downs, which is the development we're working on now, stage 1 and 2. And then there's Willunga. Willunga is stage 3, where we go up to 20 million tonnes. That's a low-vol PCI product. Just looking at the asset in a very top level, we looked for these characteristics. We wanted to say we acquired an asset which was world class. That term can be loosely used, and I think we had a lot of pitches to us with assets which used that term, but they just weren't. What we say about world class is large scale, 500 million tonnes of open cut JORC reserve. When we bought it, we didn't have that, but we were able to get that within about 3 months. Long mine life, 75 years. I don't plan to be here in 75 years to see the end of it, but what we're saying there is there's plenty of coal. It's a good yielding coal. It's of scale, so there are economies of scale. Is it the lowest strip ratio in the basin? No, it's not. But you can't find low strip ratio coal anymore. Let's be clear. It doesn't exist anymore. But the combination of factors of yield, of scale, and the economies driven out of that are what drive good outcomes with this mine. We're in production. We started moving first dirt in June 2023. We've been mining overburden, and we railed our first product in January this year. It is a Wrangell's coal, as I said, and it's a big employer. When you look at how it compares as a mine compared to some of its peers, it has the capacity in both resources and annual production to be one of the largest. Going back on the history, 2016, we're quite proud of how fast this whole process happened. I mean, with a concentration of a team on mainly one asset, you do tend to, you would hope you would accelerate the development of a project like this, but we bought it in 2016. We were able to do some things, I think, which are also important. In 2018, it's a long time before now, we secured port and rail. And I'm telling you, if I think about the time when we were financing this project 2 years ago, if I didn't have port and rail, there would have been no way we would have got finance for the project, because how are you getting it out, guys? So that's another example, I think, of long-term commitment from our backers. We took Port and Rail. We've been trading the Port and Rail away until last couple of months where we're using it ourselves, but that was a very strategic decision. We were granted the mining leases in 2020. It's important that we tried to keep this project as non-controversial. That's why it's steel-making coal. And I think we're very proud of how we succeeded in that. There was not one single objection from a Green or special interest group to this project, not one. Now, we did have Adani running interference for us, that's true, and that was helpful. But by the same token, we tried to strike a mix of lying low but being prominent where we needed to be for employees, for stakeholders, but lying low and just doing our thing. We also tried to do things to a standard which would be easily defendable, so people couldn't ever say, that we were cutting corners. We've spent $1 billion to date. So if I take you back, I last spoke at Sydney Mining Club in 2019, and back then I had this mountain in front of me with the production hill. That was what we thought we had to do. We didn't think there would be an easy route, but what we knew would be, that would be the route. Now, what are the hurdles that hit us since that time? Well, we had new legislation. So we had the Mineral Energy and Resources Act that prohibited final voids on floodplains. The Bowen Basin's basically a floodplain. I remember a politician saying to us, look, we like your environmental, your ultimate void's fine, but could you just fill it in? Could you just fill it in? Like $5 billion later, that's what it would be theoretically to fill in a void like that. So we skated pretty close there. We got through on transitional provisions for the final voids on floodplains. Also, the financial provisioning that came in that act changed the way that people were able to provide, rehabilitation surety to the Queensland government. Again, they need their normal criteria is you need to have 3 years worth of results and $500 million net assets on your balance sheet. Well, we didn't have either. So, I'm proud of the fact that we actually also were able to enter that scheme under transitional provisions because we were able to show the quality of the project. We had new legislation in Strong and Sustainable Communities Act. We've got some majors that have been doing FIFO for 45 years and the local communities are upset about it, but we bear the brunt. So they would like us to have everybody living in town. We are absolutely committed to giving our workforce genuine choice, but we can't force them to live in town. It's an hour and 10 minutes from Moranbah to Olive Downs. Olive Downs quite remote by road. So, but we came under that. That meant we had to do a full social impact management plan. We had to mitigate our impact on the community. That was the first mine approved under that act. And then we had various legislation about environmental protection on groundwater. So these are all things that are happening. There's a bit of a theme here. You'll see later on when as most people know, I say we could be one of the last of the Greenfields. This is not the end. There's going to be more of this sort of stuff coming up. So that's a hurdle. What came? New royalties. That probably wiped hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion, like that, off the project. And I think the issue with royalties is this: it's hard to say that it's wrecked the industry because what happens is politicians point to the fact that there's a feeding frenzy when BMA put their assets up for sale, as there is. I think it's more subtle. I think it's killed investment confidence in greenfield projects because you've got a long time horizon, and we've just shown it's 8 years. And who's going to have the faith to know this won't happen again? So I think it'll probably be, in 20 years' time when there's no new projects coming through, brand new projects, and everyone's sitting around the barbecue in Sydney saying, the hospitals and the schools and everything used to be better in the old days. What happened to the standard of living? Well, I think it's because we sort of killed the golden goose, as Tanya often says in the Minerals Council. Heightened ESG. I mean, during this period of time from Mining Club in 2019 to today, there was a massive change in focus on ESG. So you had Greta Thunberg out there talking, you had Joe Biden coming in, you had an enormous focus on ESG. You had IEA putting out reports that there was no need for new coal mines anywhere in the world. They didn't distinguish between coking and thermal or by geographic diversification, just don't need any. So what you had is you had normal financiers, the bankers, with a piece of paper in their hand, and they have to talk to their colleagues, and the colleague says, why did you finance a new coal mine? IEA says you don't need a new coal mine. So that's a big barrier, and that's what we faced with heightened ESG. I'm pleased to say I think we've nailed it. We've really tried to do what I would say is sensible, real, practical ESG. I'll talk about in a moment. Then we had shrinking finance options. When we started financing the project, we had, I think, probably 15 or 16 finance options, traditional finance options. By the time we got to it, we had 2. And, you know, I had, and I won't name them, but the 2 that backed us, God love them, because they were able to, what they did is they took the time to understand what we were doing and understand it enough that they could justify it to their own leadership, and that got us across the board. But I had a couple of little stories I like to tell. There's one bank that we put $500 million through the bank, and then I wanted to lease a Land Cruiser and they wouldn't give me a lease because I'm coal. And I won't say which bank, the yellow one. And then they wouldn't take my money on term deposit. So what I'm saying is, you know, that's a bit gut-wrenching, but that's the culture. That's what you face with the traditional lenders to a project like this. We then had one of the banks, Big Four, backed out, and I went to Export Finance and said, well, you're there when there's a gap in funding, and they wouldn't take an appointment. So this is the first or second biggest export in Australia, and they wouldn't take an appointment. So in the end, we got a Nordic bond, which ironically is the cheapest source of our finance right now. And we were oversubscribed by double. So there's appetite. I'm not saying there's no appetite for financing. I'm saying the traditional ones are gone. The others are more expensive. It's more difficult. And then we had, of course, EPBC changes, delays to EPBC. We had, when we got our first approval, the koala and the greater glider were threatened species. Then they became endangered species. That's a whole new level. So to put it this way, it's almost harder for us to take out a kink in the public road to our mine site than it is under endangered species than to get the whole mine approved under threatened species. Another theme why it's not going to get any easier, because forget about Greta and climate change. This is the focus on species. That's not going to go away. That's something we all have to address. And then safeguard, well, that's a whole nother thing I won't even go into. That's a real nother kick. And of course, above it all, we had COVID. So imagine financing a project, doing your major $600 million capital negotiations for those contractors and for production, and you're on a screen. It was pretty tough, but we did it. We did it. And we're in production right now. Just to give you a bit of a flavour of what we built up at Olive Downs. So my co-founder, Mark Sheldon, who's not here today, but our Chief Operating Officer, Mark had a plan for Olive Downs, which I'm proud to say more or less is the same now than it was the first day that we took over or even before we bought it, in the 2 years when we focused on it being a target. The construction components are, we had to build a 19-kilometre rail corridor and loop from the Norwich branch line. But again, that's fully electrified, but that's not that far. 19 kilometres was very manageable to us. We had to build, I call it the Sheldon Bridge after Mark, because you can do Olive Downs, but it's pretty difficult unless you cross that bridge, and that's the same way with Mark. That was a very significant achievement, and we love that bridge, and it's a really nice looking bridge. We had to do 44 kilometres of power, 66 kV power from the Broadley substation to site. Water, we had to do a 24 kilometre pipeline. So Olive Downs uses no groundwater, nothing. We've got impeccable record with groundwater management. It takes a pipeline. And Another thing that we did is, with the help of our funders, we built the water pipeline before we had surety of finance. That means that it was really only 2 years ago that we turned the first sod up at Olive Downs, but the pipeline was already in. So if you had to start, and this is I think what some of the majors do, it takes longer. You get, approval to start the project, then you say, okay, let's now build the pipeline. Well, as I said, we'd already got take or pay on the rail and port, and we built the pipeline. You can't build a project like Olive Downs without water, let alone run the project. Our communication tower, this is a 75 metre high tower. I think I call it the Channel 9 tower. It's at the bottom of that tower is more like Silicon Valley than a mine. You've got servers, it runs the autonomous network, it's got a lot of fail-safe options, it's got 2 fibre optic cables. It's integral to this network, and the big plus is never have you got better cell phone coverage than on my site. It's incredible, really good. And of course the plant. Now, Sedgman built our plant after a competitive process. We think Sedgman are the best at this sort of thing. It's a 2-stage plant. It's not a cheap and nasty plant. We plan to run this operation for a long time. Again, I'm no plant expert, that's for sure. But when I'm on site and hear people talk about it, we didn't cut corners. We might have saved 20 million, 25 million. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to build something which could be, would stand the test of time, would be able to interchange out parts if needed with the crane system and so on. But it's 2-stage, so we take the first cut is our coking coal, and then the second stage is taking out this high energy thermal coal product, about 10% of the overall product. As far as construction goes, everything's complete. We're very pleased to say that the original budget was 575 million for that collection of items, and we came out at 607. And that was in a hyperinflationary environment. And again, a large part of that is, it's a bit different when you're building a process like this, when it's like your family business, more than just a job. It's not a job. So we're looking at everything. We're trying to come up with solutions where we don't want to gold plate things. We don't want to cut corners. So but we had a very, very fine view on cost. And Denham and management, and I say overwhelmingly Denham, have put in $867 million into this project in equity to date, which is pretty good. I think they're heavily, they used to call it in the early days Project Tudor. I think Project Tudor's pretty big in the Denham world, but I think they'll get their return coming up pretty soon. We employed a lot of local and regional contractors. Over the period of construction, there were 70 contractors. We spent $60 million on local contractors. Now, in production, it's, again, a key for our success in production is the partners that we deal with. Obviously, key to production is our relationship with TEES. The idea that you could start a mine of this scale, put in $350 million worth of yellow equipment, the latest and greatest, and Liebherr excavators with only a year before you wanted to start mobilising, you couldn't do it without TEES. So we lean heavily on TEES. We are, it's the Pembroke Olive Downs complex, it's our mine, but TEES are our partner in this, and they've implemented and mobilised this fleet very successfully. The same goes with the other partners where the partnership is very important. This is what the fleet looks like, 21 autonomous trucks. There are 14 traditional trucks. It's all new gear, brand new gear. Important that there's 3 autonomous drills as well. So it's the first site that had both of those running in the same place. There's 6 magnificent Liebherr excavators, two 9800s, which are magnificent machines to be in. I like to go and sit in those with the guy and watch them do it. It's a lot of fun. But I guess as a new mine, we have got new gear. Now, that does drive down in its own right emissions, because they're the newest. If you think about a car again, a car you buy today is going to be better than one that's been running, you bought 15 years ago. The trucks, for instance, are electric drive trucks, like a hybrid. So it's a good fleet. The private network's very important. There's a number of firsts. I've already talked about some of these and where we've started. But look, we're very proud to be implementing autonomy. The misunderstanding sometimes is that we're on the bleeding edge of that technology. We're not. It's been running in Western Australia for many years. There hasn't been as many opportunities to implement it to an asset in Queensland in coal, because there haven't been any new large-scale greenfields like Olive Downs. So it was a unique opportunity to embed it, to draft the mine plans around autonomy. What it will deliver is it'll deliver increased utilisation of between 10 and 20%. The operating cost savings of up to 20%. Productivity's up by about 10%. It does improve excavator efficiency by about 4%. And of course, very importantly, there's a reduced risk of accident and injury because there's no one driving the truck. You just got to be careful though, as you are driving through site, you're waving and there's no one there. There's no one at the wheel. This is what our autonomy centre looks like. It's a new breed of type of employee with our environmental and our mining. It's great to see young people come in and run it. This is on-site. Our autonomous control centre is on-site, but it's, as you can see, it could be anywhere. It's a separate room, cordoned off by glass doors, and this is where mostly the ladies work and do it. This is a really nice little graphic. You'll see here on the left one of our autonomous trucks being loaded by, I think, a 9600 Liebherr, and on the right you'll see what that truck looks like on the autonomous pathway. So you see the pathway lights up in blue as that is authorised. You'll see there's other trucks that it's interacting with, autonomous and manned trucks and light vehicles. It slows down for light vehicles. Then it goes back to maximum speed, and it's authorised through the artificial intelligence to be able to to dump the load in that particular point. It's quite impressive. We're very excited by it. This is just really the beginning of implementing the autonomy through the whole site. Sales and marketing. A lot of the time we talk about mining, but I don't think many people think about what does it take to start a mine in a sales and marketing sense. I know that there were financiers that said, well, where's your offtake agreements? Where's your long-term agreements? Well, who's going to sign a long-term agreement with a new mine, even if it is a Wrangell's measure that people understand? They want to see the actual coal. Well, we had samples, but we didn't have the mine. So what comes first, chicken or egg? So I'll go through our strategy a little bit. First of all, it's a high-quality Bowen Basin Wrangell's coal. It's a new brand. It's not a new coal. It actually gets better in quality as we go south, and we've had a lot of strong demand. In trying to effectively implement the marketing and sales strategy, we kept customers informed very early on. From 2018, we've been seeing our core customers in Japan, Korea, India and Southeast Asia probably 3 or 4 times a year, letting them know this project's coming. I'm sure some of them might have said, yes, sure, we hear it before. So it's very satisfying to launch the brand in Japan last year and watch the jaws drop to see the actual trucks mining coal. But we started with letters of intent. We went to executed MOUs. We're now selling development coal. We don't want to sell the Olive Downs brand until we know it is singing along on spec consistently. You don't sell your first tonne of coal from the mine to Nippon Steel. You can wait at least 6 months to make sure it's just right before you do that. So we're selling development coal now, which is not branded. And then we're starting to feather in coal sales agency agreements. But for us, we don't want to sell on spot. We will sell a little bit, but it's long-term customer relationships. One of the things I liked about coking coal always, I love to have a brand. I like to know that you can know your value and use. You can sell the brand. You can talk to the customer direct. You're not just selling energy on the screen. That's where our customer base will be. It's interesting that traditional the traditional markets are there. I think India is a very big dynamic market for Australian met coal. Very exciting, and you can actually see the capacity coming online. And interestingly enough, with our ESG story, even a non-traditional market like Europe is very interested in our story, in our coal. We're just talking about starting production, but we're already focused on expansion. It's very important that to explain, when we designed Olive Downs, we designed it to be up to 20 million tonnes. So we're in phase 1 now, but we always had an eye on phase 2 in doubling. Well, actually, we call it X13 because we want to get to 13 million tonnes of ROM. Now, how do we do that? Well, one of the key things we did is we went for an environmental authority for 13 years. So for 79 years. So we went for the whole envelope, including Malunga. So we have conditions over 79 years of this mine. We don't have to go back for public exhibition and comment over those mining conditions on that environmental authority. And we took that view. It was much harder at the time. We took it because we don't want to be going back as the news seems to be tightening on projects like this. So I think we're really grateful. Do we have to get a mining lease as we extend? Yes, we do, but that's a much more administrative thing than an environmental authority. The other thing we did is key parts of infrastructure we decided to build for the big scale. So the rail is a 20 million tonne spur and loop. That's already sunk capital. Land, we sunk capital in land well beyond our immediate needs. The power, the water, we've always had our mind on the bigger picture, and this is the way it looks for expansion. You know, you'll see here on the rail loop, we've already got capacity for 20 million tonnes. We've got environmental approval for 20 million tonnes. So we just have to upgrade some of these aspects to get to double capacity. The most significant one financially is a wash plant. But because the project was always designed to be 20 million, we're not sort of going, we never thought about going to 12. Where are we going to put the wash plant? How will it integrate into the reclaim and the stockpiles? We said, well, it'll go where we always designed it to go, right there. It'll implement into existing infrastructure just like that. So it's a modular focus. And our focus is on that expansion as quickly as possible. Sometimes people ask me, well, are you looking at acquisitions? Did you look at the other ones, our neighbours? To which I say, I've got 7 million tonnes of coking coal for $300 million US. So if someone can find me 700 million tonnes of coking coal, $300 million, better, cheaper than that, great. But it's not cheaper. I think the best incremental coking coal tonnage is in my own backyard on the Olive Downs complex. Now, just talking about some of our other things which became very important in financing this project, what we saw as this terrible hurdle was new, as I said. New was the bad word, the dirty word, not coal, new. You could turn that into a positive because with a new mine, you could actually implement some things that you can't if you're already in production for 10 years. So we started doing baseline studies. We started looking for better ways well before we were even close to getting our permits. We're the first to adopt a holistic approach. We think, I'll explain what that means. Sustainable Communities Act, I've talked about. This koala and greater glider clinic, I mean, it's no joke. You should see the bill for it. It's doing it properly though, but you've got to compare us to anybody that's doing proper work on the environment. This is tracking, researching, protecting koalas in the native environment. I mean, on my phone, I can tell you where every one of them is right now, by name, where they've been the last 10 days. Their DNA is taken. It's scientific studies that we're doing for these koala and greater glider, both endangered species. So we're going above and beyond. We're not just protecting the koalas that might get, interrupt with the mine. We're trying to do something which benefits the species for Australia, and the proof is there. The other thing I'll say about ESG that I've found is in this right now, you've got a lot of young people we want to attract to mining. You can't con them. they know what real environmental stewardship is, and that's not really emissions or all these numbers and safeguards. It's what can you point to that you're doing on your site which is really tangible. That's how I see it. You need to be able to point to what you're doing, and I think that they might be driving a truck, but they like the idea that they're working for a modern, responsible mine. That's what I see. We embedded ESG into everything we did. So the mine plan, because we had so much coal, we were able to sterilise some coal. We were able to rehabilitate quickly. It's not optimal, but it's an optimal environmental outcome, not necessarily financial. We did that. We were able to stay away from groundwater, as I said before. We were able to sequence the mine for minimum haulage distances and maximum environmental outcomes. Our out-of-pit dumps are shaped in a way that is beyond what's required. And flora and fauna management I've talked about before. Core to all this is what I call it the Olive Downs Complex. And let me explain what the Olive Downs Complex is. When you come onto Olive Downs, you're coming onto a campus, if you like. So on the campus, which is 100,000 acres, 41,000 hectares, we've got our conservation area. Now, I think in mining sometimes we don't do ourselves any favours. Nobody knows what a biodiversity offset area is. That's what this is. So I thought, well, let's call it Conservation Area 1 and let's stick it where it had to meet criteria, but it's actually opposite our front gate. Now, it's not open to the public, it's better than a national park. It's real virgin environment for flora and fauna. And it's Conservation Area 1, on our own territory, on our campus. That's just the first stage. We've got another 20,000 hectares to come. We're going to commence building of the solar. The solar will take the power requirements of the daytime capacity of the plant until there's a affordable battery type solution. We have a pastoral company. You know, there's cattle grazing. It's a magnificent country up there, but we run that. We see it integrating into this complex very nicely. There's a lot of head of cattle there. The koala clinic I've talked about and the research program. We want to build an eco-village. So we have the obligation to give people genuine choice to live in town. That's fine. But we'd rather have our own camp 5 minutes from site than have them go to a camp with another 7,000 miners up near Coppabella. This will be an eco-village. So what's the difference? It's open to public. It's got a cultural heritage centre. It's got a different feel to what you'd have in a typical mine. I'm very conscious of maintaining the culture of Olive Downs as something new, encapsulating that in something which is on our campus. And of course, we've also got a mine on the campus. Let's not forget that. This is a little bit of an example of the flora and fauna management. On the left there, you'll see, you know, the tracking of all the koalas and the greater gliders. No one's ever done research on greater gliders. No one. We're the first to have been allowed research. We've got 700 nest boxes with cameras that they live in. It's quite something else. Some of the papers that we're doing while that's rolling is we're doing a scientific paper. Can translocation be used as a mitigation measure for the endangered greater glider? Do greater gliders use nest boxes? We're doing genomic sequencing of greater gliders. We're looking at stock grazing as an approximate tool for reducing buffer grass on conservation areas, home range size and habitat preference of translocated and resident greater gliders in central Queensland. And as I say, we don't want anything out of that. I only ask for an honorary doctorate, that's all. When I go on site, again, this is just anecdotal for everybody. There's 12 guys in high vis standing. What are those 12 guys on the kick-off meeting? They're the spotter catchers. So there's guys on our site. Any tree that was disturbed, 3-phase clearing protocol. Somebody walks around the tree. The infrared drone goes overnight. Then they go up in an elevated work platform and check every hollow. If there's an animal in the hollow, they take it out, they close the hollow, they relocate it. They go up and check it hasn't come back the next day. Every tree. And again, the guys that are doing that are saying to me they've never seen this sort of rigour in any development, whether it's a caravan park in Brisbane or whether it's a mine. So we're quite proud of that. And it's tangible. It's tangible what we're doing. It's real. Success factors. Just a little bit of a reflection back on why I think we've been successful. I talked about securing funding up front. I just think that makes good business sense if you can do it. It leads to a better outcome. The right asset's very, very important. If you can get your hands on the right asset, you don't want to be struggling. Like having worked in a basin, I think it's actually quite good. Having worked in Gloucester Basin a long time ago, it was a basin that was not like Hunter Valley. It had beautiful national parks around it, farmland right next door. I think it gave a bit of an insight 20 years ago about where ESG was heading. And I think we've made sure that this asset, we wanted it to be non-controversial, non-contentious, right in the middle of the Bowen Basin. We've engaged with stakeholders early, you know, the Barada Barna, for instance, local landholders, local government. We tried to apply the best rigour to environmental studies. We don't want it coming back. We want to exceed the requirements, so they just go in once. We were pleased a few years ago for the Coordinator General of Queensland to say that we call it doing a Pembroke because it comes in at a high quality and it comes in first. That was our goal. Came at a cost, but I think it's overall beneficial to the project. We have to have a team that can deliver. It's interesting, the team's changed over time. The team that might have been when there was 3 people is different to the team now. We've got 600 people with TEAS, but you have to have a team that can deliver. New standards, the big picture approval, as I talked about, having good partners, not cutting corners is important. Trying to keep it simple. I mean, in the end, it should be pretty simple. We've got a mining operation. We've got to try and keep it simple with what we're trying to do and our outcomes. And the culture's extremely important for us. We are not like a major. We're a private company. You know, and we treat it like that. And I think there's a big competitive advantage having an asset of this scale where you literally treat it like it was your pastry business your family started up a couple of years ago. I just think there's a better culture with that. And delivering, we like to deliver. And I'm really pleased to say that when I was here at Mining Club, we said we'd do it, we did it. So it's very important. Now, outlook for steelmaking coal. I think it's fantastic. One thing I never do is lose sleep over demand for coking coal at all. So some of these themes you'll hear that I've talked about come through. There's a strong demand for carbon steel. India, I've seen it firsthand, at least 12 million tonnes of brand new, low emission, beautiful carbon steel making facilities in India with just one customer. What I think we all forget is these analysts do a lot of reports on demand supply. Coking coal's always been tightly measured on demand supply, but we've always had new projects, new capacity to take away to compensate for depletion. These basins can't go forever. There's natural depletion. Where is the new material capacity coming from? Now, again, anecdotally, I'd go to conferences and you'd have 5 or 6 projects in the pipeline that were going to be developed that might add to 50 or 60 million. They're not there. They're just not there. And if they are there, some of them, if you know a little bit about it, you know they're not going to be there. So where's it coming from? To me, you don't have to have a massive increase in demand, a nice steady demand, and with this shortage of new incremental, there'll be a very tight supply. The new technology, even the customers themselves that are driving new technology initiatives, they'll admit to you, at the most aggressive will say it's 2 decades. The other ones will say 3. I mean, I don't plan to be running it in 3 decades. But I think, again, our steel-making coal is the best in the world. It has a very, very strong demand, and the existing supply, the hurdle. So let's just say there was a big change and the government woke up and said, we've got to get new steel-making coal mines. How long will that take? Well, you've just seen from us it's taken 8 years. So I don't think anyone's going to be able to do it faster than that, quite honestly. I think you've got climate change and you've got ESG, but what about just endangered species, like I talked about? That's nothing to do with climate change. That's just the way it's going. It's going to get harder, more red tape, limited financing options, and of course things like royalties made a big shock. And if it does come, where's it going to come from? Again, just very broadly, the major markets. The USA was always a swing producer anyway. No big new capacity coming out of USA. Canada, pardon if anybody thinks differently, but I think they've blown up their own coal industry completely. We've got Africa, whether it's reliable, I don't know. The key is the Bowen Basin and where's the new capacity coming from. So supply is extremely constrained. So what I think that all says is, if you've got a coking coal mine, hang on to it, develop it, because I think there might be ups and downs, but I think the trajectory for coking coal prices and demand is only up over the next few decades. And as Australians, both in New South Wales and in Queensland, I think we should be very proud of the fact that we are providing that absolutely integral raw material for carbon steel making. And that's it.
Well, wow, thank you very much, Barry, for a wonderful demonstration of the innovation of this industry, leaning into the challenges that you've faced over the past 8 years or more, and showing a path forward for new projects and how they can meet not just the initial mountain that you had to climb, but the mountain range that was thrown up in front of you over the last 8 years or so. And certainly, I think the experience of most people in this room and from the job that I do, that things are going to get tougher, despite the best endeavours of everyone here to highlight the need for things to maintain a sensible track. Things are going to get tougher, and if mining projects of the future look like your mining project, then I think this industry does have a long future ahead. We've got time for some questions for Barry. Do we have some roving microphones? We do. You're right to do a few questions, Barry? Yep. So who's got some?
Yeah,
one here. Yep.
Yeah, Colin Donegan, Coal Mine Consulting. Look, Barry, you've got to be congratulated on what you've done. But the thing that stands out is the contrast between the progress to approval of your operation and Adani. Do you think that you just did it so amazingly well, or did they do it so amazingly bad?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't criticise. I'm not going to criticise another party, but a lot of the things they did, I did the opposite. So I didn't make big announcements. I made big announcements when it came to the people that mattered. So for me, the scale of Olive Downs, the length of its mine life, that's important for people in the region that want to come and work for us. It's new jobs, it's prosperity for the region. That's what we wanted to publicise. Beyond that, as a private company, we don't need to tell anybody anything. We just got to go and do it. So I think we took that decision. And again, I can't say enough about the fact steel making coal. It's steel making coal. There's a huge distinction. I mean, again, it's not popular sometimes because there are a lot of very big players that are in coal that would like us all to get in the same, but they're two different defences, in my opinion. So I think that's another thing. Just steel making coal. We just played that very, very surely, and then we just tried to just do our thing and do it well.
Question over there, Barry.
On? Yeah. Barry, George Edwards. You mentioned briefly you're a private company. How important is being a private company to the undoubted success you've achieved?
I mean, having run a public company and a private company, I'd much prefer to run a private company. It's nice having a couple of shareholders, and you burn a lot of time, it's particularly in this industry, dealing with shareholders in a public company. You also have to share with the market information you wouldn't ordinarily do. And when you get disappointments, as we all have, or delays, the market could, be quite ruthless in its treatment of you as a public company, when actually it's, in the scheme of things, nothing. So I think, look, it's enabled us to focus purely on delivering the asset and not the fluff above. And, as long as the checks came in, we were fine.
down here. Julian.
Are we on? Yeah, great.
Can we
So,
ask, it can be a question, not a statement, please, Julian.
I'm good at that too.
It's not Q&A.
So a haul truck requires 4 people to maintain it if it's man-driven. I imagine FIFO swing shift, night shift, day shift, so minimum 4. That cost goes away, which is great. How do the numbers, now that you've got that, how do the numbers for haul trucks compare with drag lines, which everyone else is doing? And what was your decision making, and how long does it last forever doing this, or what's your outlook?
So, I mean, again, I'm an accountant by trade, so I won't talk about things that I shouldn't talk about when it comes to technical. I'll tell you that it's not suited. It's not suited to a drag line. We like the flexibility of truck and shovel. We like the ability to move according to requirements, market requirements, expansion requirements. If there are issues that we have to work around, we can do it. We like the idea of flexibility. So we found that with the autonomous fleet, the differential between the technical savings out of a drag line were not significant. But out of my hands, as a non-technical person, a drag line was never a cost. It wasn't a cost-based decision. It was a geology, flexibility, mine plan decision to not have a drag line.
Congratulations. I mean, you got the first production. I'm just wondering, for the listed company, for the old Met company, this year, they're not performing very well, and they're paying very little dividend. Only the thermal coal company doing very well. And my second question is about the met coal going to use for a lot of renewable metal like silicon. So what happens if the whole renewable thing collapse, and then what's going to happen to met coal demand? Thank you.
Well, I mean, we're talking about, well, the first question, I think, I can't really comment. It dovetails into what I was saying before about a public company. A public company has to deal with the nuances of prices going up, prices going down. What we've done is we've invested $1 billion in steel-making coal, and prices might go down, but fundamentally we believe they're going up over that period of time. And we know over the last few years, and this is the way I see it and the way my backers see it, you can make more money in a mine like this in 1 year than if you sold it today. It's a long-term proposition. Set yourself up. There will be spikes. There's been earthquake spikes in the met coal price for as long as I've been involved. Just make sure you're producing effectively, efficiently, and as much as you can when they come. The prices of our listed brothers and sisters are, subject to the market feelings about short-term, medium-term, I guess. Look, all I can say is renewables or not renewables, steel is the backbone of modern industrialised world, and there's no other way to make good quality steel than through the carbon steel making process. So I don't know if there's going to be a collapse in renewables, but whichever way it goes, steel plays that fundamental role. The key I'm saying is it doesn't need to be a dramatic increase for there to be a tightness because of supply. The approvals you hear about are usually extensions or replacing existing capacity. They're not incremental. There's not many incremental. I don't know where there's 12 million tonnes of incremental coking coal capacity that's come online recently or due to come online in the next few years.
Thank you, Barry, for answering those excellent questions. I'm going to hand back over to Julian, who's going to formally thank you with a gift or two and close off today's proceedings. And I'll just make sure that we have, Julian, the details of our... belated gift. What size jacket do you wear?
You good?
That's the next two.
Oh, great. Yeah, Linda, have we got a... No, we don't have it. All right, well, we're going to run back to my office and get you the beautifully, specially made Eureka flag. And actually, I'll just pause on that for a moment, go back a long way. You might remember the presentation at the Sydney Mining Club by the company New Coal, which had had its licence cancelled here. Chairman of that company was a guy called John Maitland, who was head of the CFMEU. Of course, if you go to any building site today, it's got the Eureka flag hanging on it, which is a real shame because it's actually the miners' flag. And John told me, who by the way has been, was declared an innocent man years after that event, but had been, so New Coal is now pursuing its compensation in New South Wales. But the point of the story is that John said that in the CFMEU there had never been an emphasis on the Eureka flag prior to them bringing it out of mothballs from the famous history where the government went out and shot 20 of its own people, miners who were there objecting to taxes and insisting on their liberty to pursue work and to make wealth, but to do it on without being overtaxed. And there was a terrible event. 13 of those miners were tried for treason. The jury had the good sense to let them all off. 4 of them became parliamentarians and contributed to the creation of our constitution. And so when we give it as a, and I've done that when I hang it outside my house, because sometimes people get this idea. It gets a bit conflated with the rebel flag from the USA, which is a racist flag. So I always put this thing underneath saying the miners' flag, just to remind people of the people's flag, and it is the people's flag. It was flown in protest by the people against its government, and so we do give you that flag as a gift, and it'll be coming here very shortly. Normally we've got a gift bag under the bench there ready to go, but that looks like Will flying back to the office right now. By the way, Will is currently, if anyone's listening to 2GB, they're running a lot of stories about New Coal at the moment, and that young fella there is writing the material for 2GB. So if you're listening to Ben Fordham in the morning, you'll be hearing a lot of stories about the New Coal challenge at the moment. $350 million of shareholder value wiped out. But it's a story that's getting a lot of bite. I see Gordon Galt sitting over here with an investor in that project. So you're on tomorrow morning on 2GB, on Ben Fordham's show, I presume? Right, okay, well, see, things are a bit bumpy down here in New South Wales. But anyway, look, so just before I do formally thank you, next month we have Venture Minerals, which is a rare earth company, Australian Rare Earths, Lindian Resources, and the 3 of them will be down the road, not here, remember, we alternate, down at the establishment. If anyone hasn't, very few, and chance you haven't been here before, do get on to the Mining Club membership. You'll get the notices sent to you every month, and it's we've got a pretty fresh energy going this year, so encourage all your friends, make sure they will join up. It's your club, we just work here, so everything you do to promote your club and expand the membership comes back to you in packed rooms like this, and the good vibes that go with that. So on that cheery note, it's now, I've been left the pleasure of thanking you in a flagless way, but it's a very beautiful piece, and we do have them made out of the proper fabric from the original design. They're the one you can leave it hanging out there up at the, hopefully up at the mine site. If you're with the big thing underneath, you can call it the Pembroke, the Olive Downs flag waving precinct. But it's something I think we should all be waving with great pride in our history and the contribution we made to the constitution of this country. So, ladies and gentlemen, what a great show, eh? What a great story. Please put your hands together and thank Barry Tudor. Good news, Barry. Good news, mate. She's arrived. There it is, the beautiful Eureka flag. From long life material, you can hang it out there in the Queensland sunshine forever. Thank you.